everybody's focus is on, how can I make more money, right? Everybody thinks if they could just make more money, it would solve, all the problems. But I'm finding that there's actually some mindset work that you need to do first that makes making more money possible. I think this will be helpful for you if that's your aim as well. So with that, let's get into it. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time certified, actually double certified, 7-figure life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And I'm gonna just be honest, it's been stressful. Yes, operating at this level and being a CEO, been throwing your girl for a doozy. There's a lot that you deal with as you grow and you scale that I feel like not enough people are talking about. So if you are not new to this channel, you can probably already tell that this podcast episode is going to be a continuation of my CEO series. And if you are new to this podcast or my YouTube channel, depending on whether you're watching this or listening to this, yes, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, you can go ahead and hop on over to my YouTube channel if you want to see my crazy facial expressions or my earrings, which by the way, I think these are super cool. I saw these on like an Instagram ad and I had to order them because they look like, I don't know, water dripping or melting. I don't know. I think they look cool. So if you're listening, come on over to YouTube to watch. But this is a continuation of my CEO series, which is me really peeling back, the curtain and showing what it looks like behind the scenes to go from just a coach to a business owner to really a CEO, because there's differences at every stage of the way. And I find that most of the entrepreneurial content online first is very much marketed towards that individual entrepreneur, that solo entrepreneur, or if you're in the coaching industry like me, the individual coach, which is great. And then there's a little bit of information around, building a business, maybe hiring some virtual assistants, getting more clients, et cetera, et cetera. But there's not a lot of content when it comes to what it takes to actually build a company, which is something totally separate and different and bigger than just building a business. I find that building a business is just around, how can I sell something and make money for it? But building a company is about having people and team and culture. And, you're really creating something that is very much separate from you. And you're trying to put it out there in the world in order to serve the people that you are called to serve. And, I find that not a lot of people even make this leap. But I find that this leap is required if you're looking to do 7 figures and beyond. So I was thinking about this, having just come back from my 2nd annual coaching retreat in South Africa. It was amazing. I spent a week in Joburg, meeting the half of my team that is based in South Africa. And then the 2nd week, I got to hang out with clients of mine who flew in from the US to join me in Cape Town. And so it was just like a magical week. I mean, it was really amazing. I think we did it even bigger and better than we did it in the previous year. But a lot of the discussion around that retreat was around making the leap, right? How to leap to the next level. And so that got me thinking around how I've leapt to these levels in my business. And, I just find it interesting because when either you're just getting started or even when you've been working at your business for a while, but you're not where you want to be, everybody's focus is on, how can I make more money, right? Everybody thinks if they could just make more money, it would solve, all the problems, or that they would be happy and that would get them to the level that they're looking at. But I'm finding that there's actually some mindset work that you need to do first and some personal development work that makes making more money possible. And even if you're successful at making more money, I think that there's a lot of things that people don't realize that they have to do. So I say all that to say this is my long-winded introduction to today's episode, which is all around the mandatory mindsets for making more money. Say that 3 times fast, right? No, seriously, these mindset shifts are mandatory if you want to make not just more money, but real money. And by real money, I mean, you want to create wealth, right? You're not just looking for, get rich quick. You want a little bit of money here just to pay your next bill or to go on your next vacation, but you're really looking to create sustainable long-term wealth that can support you and your family and generations that haven't even been born yet. And by wealth, I don't just mean financial wealth, but you're looking to create an impact. You're looking to provide wealth to the world, whether it's the wealth of your knowledge or your caring or compassion. You want to leave a legacy. Well, there's some mandatory mindsets that you're going to have to shift into beyond just asking yourself, how do I get more clients? And so I really wanted to do this episode because, many of the clients that came to South Africa and Cape Town, this was their first question as well, right? Okay, what am I going to learn that's going to teach me how to make more money? And while we talked a lot about strategy and premium pricing and all of that while we were in Cape Town, and I certainly showed them how to make more money, I think they were surprised but very grateful to hear about the mindset shifts that they needed to make in order for more money to be possible. And so since I'm feeling generous, coming back from the trip, I wanted to do this podcast to really just touch on some of those elements because I think this will be helpful for you if that's your aim as well. So with that, let's get into it. All right, so the first mindset shift that you have to keep in mind is while it's not true that there's more money, more problems, it is true that there's more money, bigger problems, right? So I think kind of like a micro mindset even within that is that you have to stop seeing more money as the thing that's going to eliminate all your problems because that's simply not true. As long as you are a human, having a human experience in this world, you are always going to face problems. You are always going to face challenges. That said, though, the problems that you face are different at different levels. And it's different, certainly, depending on how much money you're able to generate and how much wealth you're able to create. And so I find that when you don't have money or you don't have wealth, or maybe you do, but you don't have the level that you want, you often think about the problems that would be eliminated if you just had more money. But you don't think about the problems that will be created, right? When you do have more money, or the challenges or different things that just even considerations, just stuff that you're going to have to pay attention to that maybe you did not have to pay attention to, beforehand, right? So I won't say more money, more problems, but I will say bigger checks, bigger challenges, okay? You can go ahead and tweet that. That's a quotable. And so with that, bigger checks, bigger challenges, you have to become a bigger person. And so that's really the first mindset that you need to adopt. More money, bigger problems, right? And that's going to require you to become a bigger person. And so most people don't do the work to become a bigger person from the outset. They're like, I'll be a bigger person when I get the money, but they don't realize that when you get the money, if you as a person in your personal capacity is not big enough to hold that money and to sustain and steward that money, you're going to find that money just filtering through your fingertips or, in your business, it's going to crash and burn. It's just, not going to work out. So you're really going to have to work on your personal development and your ability to deal with and hold the challenges that naturally come as you are scaling and as you are building wealth. And I find that, again, this is not something that's often talked about a lot because people want to be on Instagram and it's like, oh, it looks super glamorous. I'm wearing these designer clothes and I'm traveling to these places and whatever, but no one's talking about the things that you have to deal with behind the scenes, right? Whether it's just the complexity, which is something that we're definitely going to talk about, the complexity of more money or all the people, that you're dealing with. And so I find that this is not talked about a lot online. People are looking at, everybody's Instagram profiles and they're like, oh, wow, more money. That means more travel, right? More luxury travel or more designer clothes or whatever, more going out to eat. But they don't understand some of the other challenges that they're likely to come across as they build more wealth that they need to become a bigger person for. And so with that, I want to go into some of these on this podcast. And the first is you're going to have to deal with more people, right? So part of the reason why you have to be a bigger person is because you're going to be dealing with a bigger volume of people in order to help create that money. And this makes sense, even from a mathematical standpoint, right? If you're looking to make more money, then by definition, you're looking to have more sales. And so yeah, we look at the sales as like, oh, dollar signs. Oh, I want more money in my bank account, but that's more transactions. And what is a transaction? A transaction is you and it's another person, right? More clients, more customers. So you're going to be dealing with more people who are then, paying for your services. But beyond that, you're also going to be dealing with more people inside of your business. Yes, I don't know anybody who is at the 7-figure level who is a solo entrepreneur. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist or that they're not out there, but I don't know anybody. At this level, you need other people to help you make this money essentially, because at the 7-figure and beyond, even getting into the multiple 7 figures and 8-figure level, which, I'm not at yet, but I'm certainly scaling there, you're going to be at a place where you can't do everything yourself. You can't run all the operations yourself. In fact, I just felt so grateful not too long ago, a few days before I'm doing this podcast recording, we did the graduation for our first few cohorts in my CLS Coaching Certification Program, which, shameless plug, if you haven't heard about it and you're living under a rock, like, what are you doing? Yeah, definitely check the links in the descriptions and wherever in order to learn more about that. I think it's an extraordinary program. My students do too, because they're getting crazy results. We just had a student who hadn't even finished yet and landed not one, but two $25,000 clients. And I'm like, wow, this is insane, because we're doing something different and something that a lot of coaching certifications are not doing. So, I won't belabor that point, but if you want to learn more about it, you can click the links wherever they are. But in that certification program, we were graduating our first few cohorts of students. And I was just so excited, not just because of all the students that were there, but because of the whole team that was there, right? All the people on my team who were making that possible, right? Our coaches, our customer success director, our accountability coaches, our assistants and tech gurus behind the scenes. I mean, people do not understand what it takes to put a product out in the world. They don't understand. They think it's like, oh, you just create a course, you slap it up and you sell it. But when it comes to actually getting people results and getting people big results and getting masses of people results, right? So this is what we talk about with scaling. It's one thing for you to be a coach and you to, give results to one person, or maybe you have a small group program and you're coaching 3, 4, or 5 people. But when you're talking about scale, right? 30 people at a time coming through cohorts in my program, that is not something that I physically can manage and run the business at the same time. I can't coach all those people and, review their homework and give them one-on-ones, about their business and their niches and, speak to my accountant and, speak to vendors and go over the edits that my video editor is sending and, all these different things. You can't wear all of those hats, which is funny. I know I always open my YouTube videos with, I wear all the hats and do all the things, and I do, but now I'm delegating a lot, and not just delegating, I'm empowering leaders. This is another key. I'm empowering leaders to take over more for me, right? So it used to be just me. I had all the strategy and I was just telling people what I needed them to do, right? I was delegating. I say I was hiring hands, but now I'm beyond that, where I'm not just hiring hands, but I'm hiring heads, literally. Other people who can think about things so that I don't have to think about them, so that we can continue to grow and scale, and I can do the work of leadership. Is another thing I've been really just sensitive to. I'm like, man, CEOs get a bad rap because we hear about the crazy CEOs who swindle and steal and lie and do all these crazy things. But what about the CEOs that you've never heard of, right? The CEOs who day in and day out are putting in 12 hours a day, sometimes 14 hours a day, being that, solid leader behind the scenes and making sure that, all the trains are running on time, as they say. In fact, I think that good leadership is invisible because you don't even notice it, right? Think about a restaurant that you really enjoy and the service is always top notch, or maybe there's a dentist or something that you go to and they always check you in on time and they have your records pulled up and, the teeth cleaning isn't painful and it's quick and, all the different things that we experience that are good that we never think about. We never think about the leader and the leaders in place in order to make sure that all of those systems, all of those processes, and all of those people really are working in this, beautifully coordinated manner, right? It's like looking at a symphony, or rather listening to a symphony and really enjoying, the music and all the different notes, but, not giving the conductor any credit, right? CEOs are kind of like conductors of all this madness. It sometimes feels like herding cats behind the scenes. And so this is what I mean. There's a lot of people that are going to be required in order to make your vision come to pass, whether it's clients that you're going to have to attract. You need a bigger base of clients in order to start to hit the numbers that you're looking for. Or is it the people, right? The bigger volume of people that you're going to have to hire to service the bigger amount of clients, right? That you're bringing in order to make those sales. And so this is what I mean. You have to become a bigger person because you have to lead them, right? You have to lead them. And who has said from the beginning? Me, I'll raise my hand. Who has said from the beginning that entrepreneurship is a form of leadership? Me. Why? Because it is. And so I just really stress this because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and everybody wants to make a lot of money, but no one wants to work on their leadership and no one wants to think about how are your skills when it comes to people, right? How are your skills beyond sales, right? Oh, how do I become a better salesperson so that people want to buy my program, right? Okay. What happens if they buy your program or they join your coaching program, but now they're having second thoughts and, they're feeling really insecure and they're wondering, can they do this, right? Are you the type of leader? Are you the type of coach that can pull that person back and really get them back into alignment with their vision and why they ultimately started? Are you the type of leader who can deal with nasty clients, right? You have some people who, just can't be satisfied, and they're always going to be, raising up issues and always coming at you and your team. Maybe they're talking to your team crazy. I know for me, that's something I don't accept. I find it fascinating that people think that, they can come to me and kind of smile in my face and be like, oh, I love your videos and whatever. But they don't know that I see the email threads that they're having, with my team and my executive assistant, and they're being very nasty. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. How you talk to them is how you talk to me, right? Are you able to have boundaries and really set that level of expectation and that standard that even as a client, this is how we expect you to operate if you're in my world, or you're not going to be able to be a client, right? These are the things that you as a person are going to have to master. And then of course, your leadership with your team. Are you saying a compelling vision to them so that they know why they're doing the things that they're doing? Or is everybody on your team just head down and working on their individual piece, but they don't really have any passion or really like commitment that makes them want to go the extra mile for whatever it is that you're doing? So you are going to have to get bigger in order to manage the people. But with more people, right? So it's like more money, bigger problems, right? And bigger problems means more people. And with more people, the next mindset shift that you are going to have to make is you're going to have to be able to handle more complexity. Yes, simplicity is wonderful. It's the name of the game. But even as you keep things simple, as they grow, they can't help but become more complex. I mean, I feel like we have radically simplified my business in terms of offerings. I mean, I used to have so many like small, low ticket courses. You could buy this here and buy this there. And I was, launching every other week based on like a whim, something that I thought would be fun or that I would come up with or whatever. And we have radically scaled that down. And for the most part, we are almost exclusively focusing on this coaching certification because we truly believe it is. And we want to make it become even more the best coaching certification and marketing program in the industry. And so it's like all hands on deck, all resources. We are just completely pouring into this. And so how much more simple can it be to essentially have one product or one main offering in your business? I mean, that's pretty simple, but the level of complexity, even that choice to simplify has made. And again, the complexity comes from all the other growth that happens. And it's not just revenue growth, but it's growth with the clients, right? Growth with your team. Complexity now in terms of how people interact with each other. I mean, on a very basic level, for instance, I have an in-house graphic designer. I work with video editors. We have a lot of team and tech that handles, we'll say, the multimedia function of my business. But now, how do we get them to know what the priority is when, say, the offering of the program, the certification program, requires maybe a new marketing video or a new ad, or we need to update the worksheets in the program, or we need to edit the videos, or something multimedia related to the actual offering. But then we are also publishing YouTube videos and editing podcasts and putting stuff out on my YouTube channel. Like, so that alone, very simple, right? Like, okay, you have people who do multimedia stuff for you in your business, right? But even though we only have one offering, how do we make it so that one, they can communicate with the two different teams? Because the product team is different in my business than the operations team, right? Operations is just around my business operations, and then the product is around all the specific offerings. But sometimes both departments, so to speak, have the same need and they're pulling on the same resource, right? We don't have graphic designers just for operations yet and graphic designers just for product. That graphic designer is going to be doing double work. And so with that creates the question of like, oh man, if two requests come on Slack or in our project management software, hey, we need you to edit this, and we also need you to do the graphic design for that, and it's in two different departments, well, which one wins, right? Because that person is kind of floating and living in both places. Something so minor, this is a real system that we're working through and setting up, something so minor, but again, creates complexity. So multiply that at every level, in your business. So yeah, you might just be selling one thing, but now that you have all these people, you will find that naturally you're going to start to run into roadblocks and do I do this first or do I do that? Well, I need this software, or what about this? For me, this is kind of a funny thing, but it seems like everybody in my business needs a credit card now, because they're like, well, for this, we need to sign up for this and we got to do this annual subscription and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, wait, I can't just keep sharing the credit card with that. So what are the systems for this? Well, do we get employee cards now? Like, the complexity grows. And with that complexity growing, it's like having multiple tabs running in your mind. Like imagine looking at your computer and it's like slowed down because you have 30 different tabs open in your browser. Imagine your mind like that, because each maybe department that you're dealing with in your business has a bunch of tabs. And those are just the departments internally. What about maybe external suppliers or external vendors? What about your accountant, your attorney? Maybe you hired an outsourced, HR person or whatever. All these tabs that they're also giving you. Hey, did you update this contract? And hey, what about this? And hey, your taxes are due. And all of this. And then your team is pulling on you too. Complexity, complexity, complexity. So you're going to have to become a bigger person in order to handle that complexity and not completely fall apart and not completely faint. And with complexity is another thing that comes that you are going to have to master in terms of your mindset, is getting comfortable with risk, right? Because with more people and more complexity certainly comes more risk. In fact, with more money, it just becomes more risk in general because the stakes are higher. But even beyond having, more money and the stakes being higher that way, when you have more people, more processes, the stakes are higher because more people are dependent on you, right? Now, for me, running the certification program, I feel proud that we have students who are walking across our virtual stage with their certification program in hand, but it has given us a new driver and motivation in the business to make sure that we are successful and that we are always financially where we need to be as a business, because we never want to be in a position where, we go out of business and then the certification, they don't get support for their certification anymore. That would be terrible. Imagine going to a college or a university, getting your degree, being super excited, and then 5 years later finding out that that college went out of business, right? And this does happen, and it's never a great thing. And so again, this risk of we now are accountable to people. We're accountable to our clients. I'm accountable to our employees and our staff and the people that work for us. And for me, especially having staff employed all around the world and feeling very passionate about that, because I do want to create economic empowerment in, under-resourced areas. You guys know that half my team is based in South Africa. I'm very passionate about the country, having kind of done business with people there going on 3 years now, and having the opportunity to travel and seeing a lot of the challenges that they face coming out of apartheid and trying to create this economic justice for, the South Africans that are there on the ground. I feel really proud that we're able to provide, compensation to the team in South Africa, but also in the US and elsewhere. And so there's this the things that we do, I have to manage that risk. Me as a CEO, I have to manage that risk so that my team understands that their job and their livelihoods are never at risk to the best of my ability, right? So that's something that I carry, right? That's an extra burden, right? That I'm throwing in my backpack, right? So it's all these people, all this complexity, and all of the risk, right? And so I think all of this really boils down to the ultimate mindset that you need to have is one of mental mastery, right? So we talk about bigger checks, bigger challenges. You're going to have to be a bigger person. You're going to have to be a bigger person that can carry more people, whether that's clients or those are employees or staff members. You're going to have to be a bigger person that can carry more complexity. And then you're going to have to be a bigger person that can carry more risk. Well, you might be saying, how do I do that, right? And again, these are all prerequisites to making more money. You can scale into it, but just understand that whatever level of money that you desire to make, you're going to have to master these elements on some level beforehand, because when you get the money, all these other things are going to come with it, right? When you get the 7 figures, the people are going to show up because they're going to be required in order to make the 7 figures in the first place. When you get the 7 figures, the complexity is going to show up. When you get the 7 figures, by default, you are now running a riskier operation because there is more at stake. And so it's better if you master your mindset ahead of time so that you feel ready for it and that you don't feel oh my goodness, you want to crumble under the weight of all of this. And so your mental mastery really has to deal with just your mental discipline, and it's the discipline of what you focus on and what you ultimately give your attention to, right? There are 1,000 little fires that you could be putting out at any time. Again, as a CEO, it should be called the chief firefighting officer, basically, because that's oftentimes what it can feel like, especially when you're, new to this like me and getting the team together and there's still processes that need to be built. I'm fully confident that in a few years, once all of these things are really ironed out and we have good systems and good processes for every aspect of the business, then it'll be like, smooth sailing. And I can be one of those people that like golfs and plays, tennis in the middle of the day. That day is not today, right? That day is not right now. I am in the trenches with my sleeves rolled up, building all of these things, but I'm able to do it and able to do it with joy and hope and, motivation for the future and not getting burned out, in part because I'm exercising and I'm learning the power of exercising that mental mastery and what I give my attention to. And so for me, I cannot allow every little fire that comes up to make me feel like the whole thing is burning down, right? You have to be able to put out small fires and not feel like the whole thing is at risk of burning down to the ground. And a lot of people, don't have practice at this because it is a new level of stress that you have to learn to manage. A lot of it is your mental, right? Your mentality, looking at it, the perspective that you have. And you have to understand that some things are problems to be solved, but other things are just realities to be managed, right? I think it was the Hermosis, Alex and Layla Hermosi. I really enjoyed their channel. I believe I heard them say something like this to this effect. And I was like, yes, that is totally true. If you're always seeing everything as a problem. Oh my goodness, this customer said this and we're flipping out. Or, oh my goodness, these two people on the team don't like each other, or like whatever. If everything is a problem, then you're always going to be in a heightened state of like stress and on alert and, trying to fix everything. But not everything is a problem. Some things are just realities to be managed, right? It's just a reality that as your business grows and the volume of clients that you take in, some clients are not going to be right for your business and you're not going to be right for them. And you would not have realized that until they come into your space. It's just a reality to be managed. Make sure you have a process to deal with that so that it doesn't take over your mindset. It's a reality to be managed that as you bring on more people, you're going to have personality conflicts where maybe people aren't used to working with someone like that. And so that's why it requires a good leader to set a culture that everybody kind of falls into. And it's that culture that makes it so that everybody can work together in a very harmonious fashion. But again, you as the leader and you as the person are going to have to become bigger in order to make that happen. And so again, a lot of this is just really mastering your mind, mastering your emotions, and not allowing yourself to get emotional at every little thing, right? And I know for me, and I raise my hand because this could be challenging, again, when you are like in the weeds of it and dealing with the things. But what always brings me back is remembering why I'm doing this and what my ultimate mission is, the vision that I hope to create. I mean, I really see this as a global enterprise that can impact the lives of people literally all over the world. I see what we're doing, like really raising up whole economies in different places, right? Yes, in the US and elsewhere, again, in South Africa, like there's so many different things that I want to do. I see whole populations of people. I mean, women, again, minorities, like under resource groups now coming to a place where they're having a level of economic power that they've never had before because we've empowered them through our coaching, through the ability to create profitable coaching businesses through our certification, and just ultimately all the work that I plan to do all over the world, right? Like that mission really drives me when I see that vision. And so I find that if you can maintain the mental discipline of one, having a vision, because you'd be shocked how many entrepreneurs don't have a vision outside of, oh, I want to quit my job, right? That's their biggest vision. If that's your biggest vision, then your business isn't going very far. You have to want something beyond that. Like, okay, you're going to quit your job and work for yourself. Great. And then what, right? So if you have a bigger vision, and you're always focused on that, you'll find that a lot of the challenges, even though they are bigger than perhaps the challenges that you would have dealt with had you not been operating at this level and had you not been making this level of money, you'll find that they pale and that they are small in comparison ultimately to the vision that you are trying to create. And so it's your job as a leader to be locked in on that, because everybody around you, whether it's your team, your clients, etc., are going to kind of read the room based on how you are responding. And if you're responding as a firefighter because you forgot why you really are doing this, then they're going to respond the same way. And so you got to be locked in on that mission and have the mental discipline to not allow yourself to be, mentally taken here and there and everywhere, right? You have to have that emotional mastery. You have to have good centering practices and exercises. For me, it's literally exercise. You guys know I talk about my Peloton bike all the time. Now I'm at a place too where I'm like, you know what? Monthly massages are mandatory. Because for me, especially as a woman, I find that you are carrying a lot of stress in your body. And this isn't to say that men don't as well, but me as a woman, like I don't have as much testosterone as a man, right? And so I have to be even more diligent to make sure that I am literally expelling the stress that naturally comes on from my body by doing different things like working out vigorously, going on massages, doing things, hobbies that have nothing to do with, my business, just to have some time off. I'm also instituting a quarterly staycation for myself, right? Whether it's in my city or somewhere close by where it's just me, I'm not taking the kids, I'm just kind of focusing on myself and, rejuvenating myself. And then of course, travel. I love travel. I love going to new places. And I find that really excites me and gives me something to look forward to so that I always have a next milestone that I am planning, even when I'm in the muck and mire of the day-to-day, that comes with, running a 7-figure business. So hopefully you really take these mindset shifts to heart when you think about what is required in order for you to make more money. Again, it's not just more clients, because the more clients don't matter if you're not a greater person, right? We need more of you in order to service more clients and ultimately to hit your mission in the world. So hopefully this gave you some things to think about. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify. And if you like this, don't forget to give this a thumbs up on YouTube. Again, you can learn all about our coaching, certification, and marketing program. Again, we are getting extraordinary results. Clients are getting clients before they've even finished the program. It's really amazing. We choose your niche for you. We give you 12 months free access to software that you'll need to run your business. We teach you everything that you're going to need in order to be a successful certified coach in this space. You can learn more about it by clicking the links wherever you see them or wherever they might be on whichever platform you are consuming this podcast. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.